welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Catty Cornered, and with me today to corner some cats is my good friend S.C. McPeter. Say hi.
Hello?
That comes across like one of those early Clampett cats that he would do when they would start talking like that. So yeah, a few bits of info to get on the way. So as mentioned, this is Catty Cornered, released on the 31st of October 1953. It's the 394th in the series and it's directed by Friz Freleng. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 2 Blu-ray set, and I'll have a link below to that set. You won't find this on YouTube. It's a copyrighted cartoon. If I try and upload it in full, it'll just get blocked. So in case you haven't seen this one, Rocky had kidnapped Tweety for $1 million ransom, and you have to wonder why Tweety is so valuable, but anyway. And he waits it out in an abandoned building with his fellow gangster, Nick, I believe is his name in this one. Sylvester, after trying to eat a meal, he hears Tweety and decides, you know what, I'm going to eat Tweety instead, and decides to rescue him. But yeah, he's there to rescue him, to eat him, of course. So, not much to it, but still, it's pretty solid, I must say.
Quite a nice bit of character dynamic between the gangsters, Tweety and Sylvester.
It's something a little different than Granny, because you certainly couldn't picture Granny in the role of a gangster in this one, although it would have made it very interesting if they decided to do that. But
she did pack a gun in one or two of them.
Exactly, and she even shoots Hector in one of them too. Well, at least in a dream sequence anyway.
I would have put it past Granny to old Yeller some of the animals.
Probably. Given that she owns different dogs like Spike and Hector and all that, maybe she does. I don't know. But anyway, not much by way of trivia. I mean, this one has bits that were included in the Looney Bugs Bunny movie. That's where I would have seen this at first, but I didn't really see the whole thing in full until the recent Collector's Choice Blu-ray. Maybe I saw it earlier, but I don't recall if I did. Slight bit of reused animation, though it's mostly redrawn anyway. It's from Gift Wrapped, where we see the mayor making Sylvester spit out Tweety, but in this case, in Gift Wrapped, it was Granny doing that. And at one point, Tweety says, "Not so hard," and he says it in a certain way, and that's a line delivery that was done by comedian Joe Besser, and he was a really funny comedian, although he was probably the worst of the Three Stooges once he joined the team later on. So, with this one, yeah, I gotta say, and I mentioned this in one of the previous Sylvester and Tweety reviews, it's interesting that they've got the dynamic down pat with Sylvester and Tweety, but there's a lot of variety in a lot of these ones. You got some with Granny, some without, you got Tweety being owned by Granny and some not owned by Granny, and her having Hector.
Dogs.
Yeah, so it's at least we get a nice variety here, and I think at least up until the shutdown, we get a healthy dose of variety. After the shutdown, you'll then see Friz start to reuse a lot of ideas, remaking stuff.
These characters were in demand, but I think Friz was looking to doing other things, which ended up mainly with Speedy Gonzales, because, again, he always liked using Sylvester, but there were greener pastures with using Sylvester and doing these kind of cartoons.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the time, it's just a matter of, you just got to do something new. He is definitely on autopilot by this point in terms of the characters and that. It's more the settings feel nice and fresh, and Warren Foster definitely has to get a lot of credit for it because he is great when it comes to story structure.
Yeah, the sort of in-depth character dynamic in this, I don't think you usually get it in a Maltese script. Maltese focuses a lot more on doing a lot of gags in a story rather than a very in-depth story, unless it's a one-shot that focuses a lot more on the story. I guess that would happen a lot later with Jones, though, but you don't get this depth with all these characters. You don't get all these dynamics. And then in a McKimson, you wouldn't get that at all unless Foster was writing it. Foster was really good with doing a solid story that could get a lot of gags from it.
Exactly, and here, the story, it's both simple yet complex. It's a bit of both. It's very straightforward. You just got a kidnapping of a very valuable bird, and they're trying to hide out until the heat dies down, so to speak. While at the same time, you got Sylvester, well, he just wants a meal, and that's that. And then you got the characters all intertwined in hilarious ways to the point where Sylvester ends up being the hero at the very end.
And then not the hero.
Exactly, of course. But let's take a look at this short from the start. Now, the newspaper clippings, and I would have mentioned this in a few reviews already, and my good friend Devin Baxter would have gone through it in depth already. But these newspaper clippings, just to fill the page, so to speak, that would have come from the Warner Club News. And I know this as well, that it wasn't just a generic paper, because if you look at the second one, there's references to Watercolor, which sadly means one of the best James Dean movies of all time looks absolutely ordinary on the 4K restoration because they used watercolor. It wasn't particularly good as I understand it.
Watercolor, I think it's just a rename of Eastman, which again had the tendency to fade. Wasn't as strong as Technicolor in my opinion, even when it wasn't fading. Then again, they would have struck those negatives at least decently, so there is no fade. It's just not as good as Technicolor.
And in that movie, it's one of my favorite movies, and yeah, you got some scenes that look absolutely beautiful, then you got some scenes that are so soft, and yeah, had they done it in Technicolor, would have fared better. But anyway, that's another topic, of course. And we even see the references to Warner Club parties as well.
If you look nice enough, and I think this is pretty obvious on a few of the Warner Club ones, you can actually kind of see that it was clipped on there. Like, you can tell it's different from the background.
Yeah, they're just space fillers. People at the time watching this wouldn't have said, oh, projectionist, can you pause it so we can read what's going on here? No, this was just a space filler, and this is just something of interest to us who like to study these things years later, and in high definition too. We can actually see everything a lot more clearer.
Maybe one of you can go match this with one of the Warner Club news articles.
Now there's the challenge right there. Devin has mentioned that he's trying to get a lot of these, but most of them would have just been thrown in the rubbish bin, really. They would have been just your generic workplace newspaper. It's like, yeah.
Most of them are around, thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah. So hopefully more will show up as well. But I do want to hear people's opinions as to why Tweety is so valuable, because we get no reason why, and nor do we need to have a reason for this short to work or anything, but you do have to wonder.
Is he a breeding canary?
I don't know, but...
Is he prize winning? I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever. Again, we don't need to really know why. I just thought it was curious. So we see here that we got Rocky, and this new design had already featured in a previous short, but we see he has a sidekick this time of Nick. And after...
Would be Italian.
Yeah. And in the future, though, that sidekick character will be replaced by Muggsy, a more dopey character, which I think acts as a much better counterpoint to the more serious and stern Rocky. But he's fine. This character, Nick, is okay. Nothing wrong with him.
Nick was a good boy. He was a good boy. But I think having Muggsy in this short wouldn't have worked because, again, you're having three dynamics, but you would have introduced a fourth one if you had Muggsy instead of this straightforward Nick character.
Nick's there just to help move along certain plot points, and that's it. So it's nothing, I guess, too in-depth or anything, but you have to wonder just how gun-happy Rocky is. So you got Tweety thinking, okay, here's my chance to make my escape, and then he just tries to shoot at Tweety. It's like, you got $1 million bird here, you know? He's probably a good shot. But in any case, my favorite bit of animation in this short has to be Sylvester making himself a meal. He's even got the table all set up. He's even got cans with semi-dead flowers in there as well. I just love it. I love it. I mean, I wonder if it's either Ken Chapman or Virgil Ross, but you know what? Whoever did it, fantastic animation.
I agree. It's nice character. You get a nice balance of timing. Sylvester has a nice walk, and I love the topper gag of it where after he sees Tweety in the abandoned apartment building, he puts the reserve.
Yeah, he's just so dainty. He's just a man of fine tastes, or a cat of fine tastes. So it's a great bit of animation. I thought that really just stood out to me. But I'd like to know exactly who did it, but I'm leaning towards either Virgil Ross or Ken Champion. But anyway, if you guys know, let me know in the comments below. But in this one, Sylvester's pretty brave. Unlike being the scaredy cat in the Chuck Jones shorts when he's teamed up with Porky, he's climbing a whole building just for this one little bird. I certainly wouldn't do that, but anyway. But then again, he is a cat, so I guess it makes sense, right? Now, in this short, Tweety does not say his trademark I taught it to a putty tat, but we hear the gangsters say that, referring to Sylvester here.
Hey, boss, I thought I taught a putty tat.
And again, it's interesting because this is well and truly in the pop culture now, the whole I taught it to a putty tat. And now in all these shorts, it seems like Foster and Freeling are like, okay, how can we do it differently this time? So you get a nice variation in all these shorts.
Mm-hmm. It's very nice. Hey, boss, I taught a putty tat.
Yeah, exactly. And it works pretty well. And what also works well is that simple banana gag. And, you know, it's not the funniest thing in the world, but what I love about it is just the timing of that entire scene. So the banana peel's put out, Sylvester doesn't notice, he's slipping to the music, he falls down, a can goes up, and then one of the gangsters removes some of the ash from his cigarette into that can. The timing is impeccable on that.
Yeah, it's a really nice little touch. I mean, the one topper that they didn't do is the fact that it would have landed on Sylvester's face, but they had Sylvester put the reservation. I'm fine with this.
Yeah, it's beautiful timing in this one. I love that bit.
I slipped.
So Sylvester goes up in a different way, and Tweety has escaped yet again. And Sylvester's all like, hide here in the mouth. And Tweety's kind of onto the cat as well, kind of, sort of, but he still thinks the Putty Tat's here to save him.
Oh, there you are, Putty. Oh, hide me, quick.
Here, hide here. They'll never find you in here.
Oh, thank you.
And this could have gone one of two ways. I mean, you could have had the entire short where Sylvester is not seen by the gangsters at all, or you could have them seen by the gangsters. In this case, they chose to go with the latter, which works pretty well.
I like the fact that Sylvester isn't aware of the danger until after. First thing, like, he thinks it's just going to be standard to get the bird, and then he realizes that the bird just wants his help anyway, and then the gangsters want the bird and want Sylvester. Again, really great character dynamic. You get a lot of nice character arcs, or just dynamics in a lot of Warren Foster's writing, and with Friz Freleng's great direction to add the gags there. Because in Hair Trimmed, you have Bug, Sam, and Granny, that dynamic, and the Daffies, you always have good dynamics. Just great stuff overall.
Exactly. And in the sign of, again, lower budgets, although they use it to maximum effect here, so Nick is tasked with searching the pussycat. So he takes him in the room and we just hear Sylvester's yelling. And it feels like it's a lot better doing it that way, because you can sort of imagine what on earth is Nick doing to search his pussycat. He ends up finding a mouse on him.
Boss. Okay, boy, the jig is up.
I guess he opened him up or shoved his hand through his throat. That must have hurt. Pretty typical, though, of gangsters.
Exactly. And we got Rocky. He's pretty bright. He's definitely going to play up with the fact, okay, he takes the Tweety and he puts the dynamite inside the can, and sure enough, we know what happens after that, right? Oh,
Yep.
Yeah. And that whole thing with Sylvester falling downstairs, I do like. Well, it's not really a drunk voice, but it kind of sounds drunk. He's just completely taken out of the fact that he just falls down the stairs. Beautiful timing there. Beautiful timing.
You dirty guys. Ooh.
Again, there's great setup with this whole gag, where again, Nick is searching Sylvester, Rocky realizes where Tweety actually is. He doesn't even tell Nick, so he can put a piece of dynamite in there so Sylvester can go along his way and get hurt even more. And then I guess he tells Nick what happened. Again, just, you're looking at this, it's very in-depth. Freeling really nailed down and Foster how to do these cartoons really well.
Exactly. So we then see that Sylvester's going up what's known as a dumb waiter, and I didn't even know what that was, but Matt Hunter explained it to me in an earlier review where they had one in Porky's house, and it's the whole thing with the staff on the bottom floor being able to send stuff to the apartments up above. So Sylvester goes into one of those and goes up, but then we see the cops had tracked Rocky down. You do have to wonder how they tracked him down, but again, from a story point of view, it's not really important. They just did.
It doesn't seem that hard to see them up in the apartment. They're making no effort to hide themselves as much. They're just hiding in an abandoned building, making no efforts to just cover themselves through the abandoned windows. Because if you can see Tweety through those windows, of course you can figure it out. Anyone could.
And plus, you'd probably hear gunshots, and maybe a concerned citizen call the police saying, hey, I heard some gunshots, because he's trying to shoot Tweety, trying to escape. But anyway, that's overthinking it, but whatever. For the purposes of the story,
they get
fine.
arrested, they're gonna hide. They hide Tweety, and Sylvester just happens to be in the dumbwaiter, though. I always see characters going through the dumbwaiter. I don't think dumbwaiters were ever used as an actual human elevator.
In any case, another bit of cost cutting is that we don't see any of the police officers animated. We just hear them, right? And we just hear Rocky being arrested, and we don't see him again throughout the rest of the short. We just see the reaction of Sylvester, like, oh, okay, I'll just take Tweety, who was hidden in the dumbwaiter, and he's like, okay, he just goes.
Rocky, down to the station house with you.
And you think he wins. He thinks he wins, and sure enough, as he's running away, we see that the newspaper photographers are there, and Sylvester's now a hero.
Yep.
As we see in the newspaper with more stuff from the Warner Club News.
Looks like they had quite a few parties. Actually, it looks like they're using on both ends the same story.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, it's just space fillers, but still it's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But we then see the mayor, and I like the design of this mayor. You do have to wonder, like, is he based off of anyone, maybe like a friend or someone that they know? Because I don't think that's a design from anyone famous.
It's certainly supposed to be someone. It could have been anyone on staff. They threw that stuff in regularly, even as just incidental characters. I was rewatching Rhythm and the Bull, and I realized that one of the guys in the tubes or the pipes is Cal Dalton.
It's just one of those things. So if anyone has a rough idea of who it might be, definitely let me know in the comments. But it's probably just either a staffer that probably didn't really do too much. He just had that look that they were looking for.
It probably could be.
Yeah, so whatever. It's a fine design for a mayor. Nothing wrong with that. So we then see how bashful Sylvester looks. I love that look of Sylvester just looking all bashful that he did something good. Then we get the repeated stuff where he's just looking on Tweety and he's doing the whole thing that he did previously, the whole kiss the little birdie.
He makes a jerk of himself in front of a whole crowd hailing him as a hero.
Exactly.
I love how just somewhat incompetent the ending is of just Tweety just saying the resolution of battle putty cat and it just ends. I like the fact there's just nothing else to it.
Exactly, and nor that needs to be. We know that Rocky gets arrested. We don't need to know what happens afterwards, but I'm assuming that he's out on bail or he gets off on the crime because they couldn't find Tweety and therefore he's left to be in a short with Bugs Bunny later on. So, yeah.
And now my good friend Dave Germain has a few things to say about this short, so take it away, Dave.
If I were to list my favorite top 5 Sylvester and Tweeties from the original studio, of course, Catty Cornered would absolutely be on that list. I personally prefer the ones where Tweety is very much in trouble and has to get out of it himself. And I think Catty Cornered is the ultimate example of that, and is a very inspired cartoon for that reason, in my opinion. Because Tweety is literally between a rock and a hard place. You know, he's been kidnapped by gangsters, and his only means of escape from those gangsters is Sylvester, who is trying to kill him. And so, thusly, in order to get away from Sylvester trying to kill him, his only hope are those gangsters who will just put him back in that cage. And you'd think that the gangsters wouldn't hesitate to kill but injure Tweety. Well, look at the scene where Tweety tries to escape and Rocky puts a bullet above his head. I mean, they're holding him for ransom. They don't want him completely harmed, but they won't hesitate to shake him up a bit. And so that's the situation Tweety's in. And, well, spoiler, he does get out of it, but it is not easy for him. And that's what I love about this cartoon so much.
Well, I have to say that if I was being held at gunpoint, I would be rating this 8.5 out of 10, and I will be.
Yep, I will rate it about the same. This is a funny one. Is it the finest Sylvester Tweety? No. I don't think a lot of them from this point are going to quite match the earliest ones where they were still figuring out the formula, but as far as the formula ones go, this one is definitely top notch.
I certainly think this one has a great story behind it. And again, there's not really too much story. It's just gags and gags, but there's a great setup to do gags and great character behind it. Because again, everyone says how great Warner's was at gags and gags ads. I think they were always focused on character because you couldn't have variety and so many good cartoons without great character. And I mean, you have Freeling and Foster, who at this point were making a very consistent amount of great cartoons that they may not have been as ambitious as Jones cartoons in this period, but you realize that he makes all these good cartoons and good. You realize that he really was, maybe not as star as Jones, but he really was good compared to everyone else at the time.
Yeah, it's definitely a great one, and now people can see it on physical media on the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 2. So, yeah, it's a absolutely great one. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
That's all, you mugs.
Come on, Putty Cat. Kiss the with the birdie. Ooh, he's a bad Putty Cat.